Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai. All praises and all honor and all glory unto Yahweh, Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai, Ba'asham, Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who do well. Salutations to the Akim and the Four Winds, preaching the truth and sincerity, risking their lives more now than ever. The hopeful elect, the elect, Shalom. To the Israelite foreigners whose phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel and have come back to the fold. Shalom. To you sisters, to you Akwathium, listen and learning in silence with meekness under your husband or spiritual leader. Yeah, so this is a fall of Rome, Roman Empire, right? The fall of the Roman Empire, also called the fall of the Roman Empire or the fall of Rome, was lost of central policies controlled in Western Rome Empire. In the Western Empire, proceeds in which the empire failed to enforce its rule on its vast territory was divided into several successor policies, right? The Roman Empire lost the strength that had allowed it to exercise effective control over its western province, right? Modern historians post factors include the effectiveness and numbers of the army, the health numbers of the Roman population, right? And the strength of the economy, right? Here's something right here. The competency of the emperors. So you're having that right now because what? And it sounds like the same thing what they're going through. The military spread out thin, and then it says something about the health of the citizens, right? Because right now you got what? A pandemic, right? A global pandemic. And then you have what? You have the competency of your emperor or your king, the king of Babylon, which is Biden, right? And he got incompetency. The internal struggles for power, right? Which they're so-called having that between the Democrat and the Republican, right? The Flavians and patricians, they having that a struggle with power. The religious changes of the period, right? And what's big on the religious change right now? The what they call black Hebrew Israelites are out there giving people the truth, man, letting you know that the things that you have learned in church were in vain. It was vanity. None of that stuff was real. None of that thing was true. According to the Bible, the Lord who you call Jesus Christ or Jesus Christos is a man who came to die for his people, for their sins, and him and the Father is not the same person. And oh yeah, they both happen to be what? Woolly hair so-called black people, if that's the way you can understand, right? And the so-called black, Hispanic, and Native Indians are the Israelites, right? So that's a big change in their understanding of their so-called religious sections. You know what I mean? So this is basically going into uh some of the things. Let me keep going down. Let's see. It says I'm just gonna skip this because they're gonna talk about the barbarians. Basically, the barbarians were attacking them. Where, but I'm gonna go to this greatly the outside Rome culture also contribute greatly to the collapse, right? Climate changes, right? Is that not happening right now? Both the the in the endemic and the and epidemic, right? So really, that's where you're at. You're at the endemic of this society, man. And that was an epidemic, but they saying that there's a pandemic disease drove many of those immediate factors. So the reason for the collapse, right? So that's what you're dealing with right now. The all these different things right now is driving what America to what an immediate collapse.
To the catastrophe that is the Biden. Even his most enthusiastic supporters in the media can no longer hide the pure incompetence and malice of this cognitively impaired joke of a leader.
Thank you. May God bless you all, and may God protect His troops and all those standing watch for America. We have so much to do within our capacity to do it. We just have to remain steadfast. Steadfast. We will complete our mission. We will continue after our troops have withdrawn to find means by which we can find any American who wishes to get out of Afghanistan. We will find them and we will get them out. Ladies and gentlemen, they gave me a list here. The first person I was instructed to call on was Kelly O'Donnell of NBC.
He couldn't even deliver a coherent, prepared statement for a minute. And he blurts out that he has to go to the person he was instructed to call on. This is the leader of the free world. They tell him who to call on. This is how he runs press conferences, even today. Reading from an auto cue and answering questions from pre-approved selected media who have submitted their questions. The bulk of the mainstream media are complicit in this disastrous presidency. They refuse to cover Biden's obvious mental decline during the campaign, refuse to cover the Biden file stories concerning his family's dodgy dealings with China, the Ukraine, and other places. And to this day, they give him and his inept administration soft coverage, even as it loses control of the country's southern border, sees inflation soar, and creates a host of energy supply issues. But back to the botched Afghanistan withdrawal. Biden's weakness and poor judgment has led to this carnage. He owns this catastrophe completely. He has botched every element of this withdrawal. The latest disastrous incident saw 13 service members and many more Afghans killed in a possible Islamic State terror attack in the Afghan capital. Officials say at least 60 people have been killed in suicide bombings outside Kabul's Hamid Karzai International Airport.
Read to you what is so painful for me and so many other Afghan veterans who served in that capacity, others who served as a part of the train, advise, and assist, equip effort in helping the Afghans. We now know that due to the negligence of this administration, the Taliban now has access to over $85 billion worth of American military equipment. That includes 75,000 vehicles, over 200 airplanes and helicopters, over 600,000 small arms and light weapons. The Taliban now has more Black Hawk helicopters than 85% of the countries in the world. But they don't just have weapons. They also have night vision goggles, body armor, medical supplies, and unfathomable to me and so many others is that the Taliban now has biometric devices which have the fingerprints, eye scans, and the biographical information of the Afghans who helped us over the last 20 years. And here's what we just learned again in the briefing that we just walked out of. Is this administration still has no plan to get this military equipment or these supplies back.
That was Jim Banks, a member of the US House of Representatives. Yes, the Taliban has access to tens of billions of American military equipment, plus they also have fingerprints, eye scans, and biographical data of Afghans who helped us, who helped the Allies. How did that happen? Well, this is Politico's explanation. They report US officials in Kabul gave the Taliban a list of names of American citizens, green card holders, and Afghan allies to grant entry into the military-controlled outer perimeter of the city's airport, a choice that's prompted outrage behind the scenes from lawmakers and military officials. One defense official said, basically, they just put all those Afghans on a kill list. Giving Islamic extremists who chant death to America the names of American citizens, green card holders, and Afghan allies, can you think of anything more insane than that? Let's look at how Biden reacts here when a journo asks, what will you do if Americans are still in Afghanistan after the deadline? He smiles and mutters something before the White House wisely cuts the audio feed. We won't know what he said unless you can read lips. Elections have consequences, and Americans are seeing just how disastrous those consequences can be.
Yeah, so this Babylon to Timbuktu. So the temple above the altar, to the statue to the people brought the sacrifice of pig meat, the animal which is an abomination to the Jews because of this religious persecution. The legitimate high priest Onias III and many other Jews fled into African countries, Egypt, Ethiopia, Cyrenaica, Libya, throughout the last 2,500 years, right? So let's skip down, just jump down to this. It says, right where the reds cover it, where the pen is at, says, in the year 65 BC, the Roman armies under General Pompey captured Jerusalem. In 70 AD. General Vespasian, the son of Titus, put an end to the Jewish, which really is Jews, because there's no such thing as Jewish state, the Jew state, with great slaughter. During the period of the military governors of Palestine, many outrages and atrocities were committed against the residue of the people. During the period of Pompey and Julius, it had been estimated that over 1 million Jews fled into Africa, fleeing Roman persecution and slavery. The slave markets, let's zoom in on that a little bit. The slave markets were filled with black Jewish slaves, right? So the understanding is that what the real Jews are so-called black people, right? Right, and it says what? Through the transatlantic slave trade, we were scattered all over the world, and then they even put the scripture. And this is a guy who wrote this as not a religious person. He was just putting down no evidence, no what he found out, right? He says, the Lord shall scatter thee among all people from one end of the earth even unto the other, and there thus shall serve other gods, which neither thus known, neither thy fathers known, even wood and stone, which is Deuteronomy 28:64, which this is a, Deuteronomy 28 is a, solid milk scripture to go to prove that you're the Israelites, right? And these are the things that they did during this time of Esau. Why? Because what? He knew that even then it was like what's coming up now. He knew he had but a short time. He was trying to do what he could do to keep control of the first Roman empire, right? But according to scripture, it's going to be the one with the deadly wound that got healed, which is going to be what? The second leg of Rome, right? So this is Daniel chapter 2, verse 32. This image, right? Because Daniel basically told the guy he can interpret the dream. He just needs to pray to the Lord, and the Lord will give him, the ability to interpret the dream, right? Because he basically couldn't repeat it to his soothsayers or nothing. He was like, nah, I want it to be that you can actually tell me what this dream is without me actually telling you about the dream. And the only one who could do that is Daniel. Why? Because he's an Israelite, man. He serves a real true power of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. And that's why the Lord allowed us to go serve wood and stone, because we went astray from serving the one true power. So he said, you want to worship something that of no value? All right, I'll let you go under captivity in slavery and worship wood and stone that's of no value under an enemy that hates you, man. So, but at this time, Daniel was one of the righteous, right? He says, this image's head had fine gold, his breasts and his arms of silver, his belly and thighs of brass, right? Which is describing a man, right? His legs of iron, his feet, part of iron and part of clay, right? Is Daniel 2:40, and the fourth kingdom, right? Dealing with the fourth part of the body, right? Which would be the legs, right? The legs and the feet, right? It says the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, right? Because that's what it said. As much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdue all things, as iron that breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise, right? So it went around conquering, which would be the great Greek Empire, right? Dealing with the Greeks, Alexander the Greek. It tells you, and matter of fact, let's go to it real quick. This is First Maccabees chapter 1 verse 1, and it happened after Alexander, son of Philip, Macedon, right? And Macedon goes back to the Agagites, going back to Haman. Haman was an Agagite, you know, the king that was a Saul. King Saul was supposed to kill was King Agagite, but the Agagite had sons. So even though he died, his other sons had sons, and those were what the Agagites, right? So you know that Edomite line still carried on, right? You know what I mean? So, and that Macedon goes back to the Agagites, which actually goes back to Edom, which goes back to Esau, right? Who came out of the land of Chittim and smote Darius, the king of Persia, and the Medes, that he reigned in his stead, the first over Greece, right? Because the original Greeks were dark-skinned people. They were the Japhites, and that the Japhites will be basically what you would call what the so-called Aborigines of Australia or the Hawaiians, right? Those are actually the actual real Greeks, right? And made many wars, right? Because it said that iron was talking about that third empire. The iron made many wars and won many strongholds and slew the kings of the earth, right? And went through to the ends of the earth, right? So was that the actual ends of the earth? No, right? Because they didn't know about the Americas. That's where the Northern Kingdom was at, in Arzareth, right? Turtle Island. They didn't know nothing about that, but they were talking about the ends of the earth of their time. Just like when Babylon ruled, they ruled the world, but it wasn't the whole entire world, but it was the world that, you know, of their time, right? Just like the Medo-Persian Empire, it was the world of that time. But if you pay attention, each empire, their reign on the world expanded, right? It expanded. So that's why this last empire, he's trying to expand to the entire whole world. I mean, they kind of got pretty much the whole world, but they don't have it the way that they want to have it. They want to rule it like God, right? To give you the sea hip, right? Give you that charagma. But let's, yeah, because it says, yeah, and they slew the kings. Yeah, got many strongholds and slew the kings and went through the ends of the earth and took spoils of many nations, in so much that the earth was quieted. That's what I'm talking about. How that iron, the third part, which is the Greeks, right? And they quiet the whole earth before him, whereupon he was exalted in, and his where he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up, which is his mind. His lob is lifted up, and that's the same thing what these Edomites are today. They're lifted up even in their lowest estate, even though they conceded. Their whole thing is failing, man, and they're still proud. Yeah, so go back right here in 40. I'm just gonna start right here. And as iron did breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise. See, that's that third empire, which will be the Greco Empire or the Greeks, right? Which would have been of Alexander, and they bruised many people. And whereas thus saw the feet and toes part of part of the potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, right? In which that's what's happening right now. That kingdom is starting to be divided, starting with the British the Brexit, right? And then you got these so-called the Democrat and the Republican. Then you got the so-called American people, the so-called average American Joe, who's against this whole thing, especially those who so-called following Donald Trump, right? And they're ready to start that Egyptian against the Egyptian, right? That we're at that time. So they're divided. But there shall be in it of the strength of iron, right? And that'd be that those NATO nations that got their like England, was it Germany? Forgot which one. Is it Spain? Not Spain, huh? But I know Germany, Britain. Can't remember the other ones, but they're strong. Like their economy strong. They got a lot of good things. They got things going on for them. I don't think it's France, because France is kind of bad off because they finna get ready to cut off their that heat, all that other stuff, and they don't got the money like a lot of those other nations that their money is pretty good. So so like yeah. So those some of those nations are strong, and that's the iron. As much as thus saw it, the iron mix with miry clay, and as the toes of the feet were part of what iron and part clay, right? That's going into, like I said, that's going into those that Brexit. That's part of the thing. They're separated. They separated from them as far as they like, nah, we got our money and we're good, but we'll still be NATO. But then that's gonna break apart too, because what? Now they're not getting heat, they're not getting things, and they're gonna get mad at the whore. They're gonna get mad at what America real soon, because what? They ain't got no heat. So that's gonna break in part, because now they're gonna be because this is dealing with things that don't mix. Clay and iron don't mix. It's gonna fall apart regardless. Pretty soon the clay starts getting hard and brittle, and it breaks off from the iron, and that's what's happening right now. Right? It doesn't really cling to it. It's like water and oil. It's not really mixing. Right? So it's partly strong and partly broken, and that's where they at right now, man. They're partly strong and they're partly broken. Whereas thus saw the iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men. And really, that's what they've been trying to do. Blend in, say that they're they're Jewish, they're English, they're Spanish, and then try to have, take these different countries that they conquered and mingle themselves in with the people, sex with those women, and try to birth their own, so they could kind of be amongst the people, and also set up their own so-called their own politicians, their yes men in there, so to speak, right? But it says, but they shall not cleave one to another, even iron is not mixed with clay. Like this thing, at the end of this thing, what's going on right now, the thing is not mixing. But this is what basically broke apart that empire that was Rome at that time, but also Rome at this time. This is Job 30:1. But now they that are younger than I have me in derision. So right now, what these Edomites who are younger than us, which really goes into us being the gods of this world initially, right? And it goes into their mentality, right? Even though we're a younger nation, technically, we're a younger nation. Like Esau had kings before we had kings, but they're younger as far as their spiritually, because when you deal with us, especially when you deal with the elect were the first created besides Yahushai. So it was Yahushai and then the elect that helped create the world. So when you deal with that, when you go into that understanding, they're younger than us. But then you also go into the understand that they're younger than us by their mentalities, the way who pollutes and put chemtrails in the air that you have to breathe yourself. Who destroys and make GMO foods when those are the foods you pretty much have to eat yourselves, right? Who would basically make a monetary system that is going to crash anyway when you're not backing it with silver and with gold? Why would you do that? You were the richest nation in the world because you had all that gold and then you had all your money backed up. But then you say, you know what? I'm not going to back my thing up with gold. I'm just going to back it up with nothing, right? You're young. You're like you're a child. Only a fool would freaking do that and then think somehow now I can go around and I'm gonna electronically tag everybody. I'm gonna charagma you so I could kind of be like God. But then even with that, it's all like a credit and a credit that has no actual value, right? So you have to be younger than us, right? But now they have us in derision, man. Whose father I wouldn't have disdained to have set with my dogs of my flock, right? You wouldn't sit your animals next to this because you can go into Google or go into these so-called sex sites or whatever they got, and you got these Edomites having sex with animals, man. Dogs, cats, goats, horses, their car. These you would disdain from having this person even around anything, and let alone your children. But this is what people did, dealing with this Roman Catholic what do they call it? When they're having sex with your children, man. So, yea, where too might the strength of their hands profit me. Right? Them ruling over you will never profit you. In whom old age has perished, for what want and famine. Oh, see, and that's ultimately what they're trying to bring. They're going to bring for want and famine. They were solitude, feeding in the wilderness in former time, desolate and waste, right? So because they were in that condition, their whole thing is they want to pay back the world, and mostly really that world is what Israel. They want to pay back you Israelites for them being in their condition. Right? That's why they're telling you to eat bugs. Because that's what they had to do. Who cut mellows by the bush and juniper roots for meat, right? They were just eating, basically nothing. Because this is after that first leg of Rome, because when you go into it, it's describing a man. So that first leg of Rome, it fell, and that's what this condition they were in. They were eating juniper root for meat. They were driven forth. They were driven forth from amongst men. They cried after them as after a thief, right? And that's ultimately that's Esau has always used his blessing. It was by the sword. So that's what he was doing. He was going to all these other nations, and the ones who were smaller or the ones who he knew he could defeat. He would defeat them and take their jewelry, their things, so to survive. But then eventually the people just drew them up out of there. That's when they went into the Caucasus Mountains, where you get the word Caucasian, which means cave dweller. That's where they dwelled in the caves and dwelled in the cliffs of the valley, in the caves of the earth, and in the rocks, where you get Caucasian from, right? Among the bushes, they braze. Under the nellows, they were gathered together, and they were children of fools, yea, children of base men, yea, they were viler than the earth, man. These people, they're low, man. So that's why the Lord allowed them to conquer us, because you want to go after strange gods and other different things. The Lord make the lowest denominator over you, man. That's why I said it. He who is younger than me had me in derision, man. That means you're underneath them. They're putting hell on you, man. Right? And now, right, there you go. And now am I their song? Yea, I am their byword, which proves that we have to be the Israelites, because ultimately that's what the Lord said we will be. We will be a byword unto these people, man. Right? Yeah, so this is 2. And the beast which I saw was like a leopard, going back to Alexander the Greek, who wore a leopard skin hat when he fought and he quieted the nations. He wore a leopard. Basically, he killed a leopard and put the part of the leopard and put the leopard head over his head and wore the rest of the leopard going down his back. Right? He wore a leopard skin hat. And the feet were as the feet of a bear, which is going into Russia, which proved that Russia is an Edomite, but Russia is not part of NATO, EU, right, or America, because they're the ones who beefing, because the Lord said what? They're going to be divided, right? These are all Edomites. They're going to be divided on many levels. Financial, this, that, and another, man. They're going to be divided on so many levels, right? And his mouth, as the mouth of a lion, going into London, England, right? England, and the dragon, right, going into Rome, right? That dragon, because what in Rome, which they call the Roman Treaty, which is in England through the EU, they call it the Roman Treaty, right? Which goes into that dragon, which is Rome, gave him his power to set a great authority, right? Because at one time, the what do you call it? London, England was a great authority on the earth, man. They were conquering, and they conquered China, where you had Hong Kong, where had Hong Kong underneath them. They had was it Jamaica? Basically Australia. Australia was underneath them, because that's why you have, if you look at the Australian flag, it's basically still the British flag, but they just put a couple of stars and put some things on it, but it's basically the British flag. Basically, even America, they had America underneath them, technically, which still really they have America underneath them. It's just the way they did it, right? Because it says, and I saw one of the heads as it were wounded to death, right? Because eventually they give power to America, or the so-called fake power. They wouldn't, because really England, London, they still rule America, man. Because basically the elder from Chicago brought that out. How the bar exam basically means the British. I'm kind of not really remembering right now, but basically it goes that bar means the British, because that's the same thing, the bar that America has to go through for to be a lawyer. British can't remember exactly how it goes, but basically British authority, registration, something basically, but that's going back to Britain. So really Britain runs this whole thing, but America's the face of this whole nonsense, And so I saw one of the heads as it were wounded to death, going back into, like I said, that to the Rome, that first leg of Rome, right? Because it was wounded, it got brought down. So I saw one of the heads as it was wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, bringing him back through England, where they have the EU having that Roman treaty. That Roman treaty is saying what? They're back, right? That's basically saying, hey, look, we're back. Mortimer, we're back. You know what I'm saying? Remember that on Coming to America, the Dukes? That's basically what they are. The Dukes of Esau, right? That deadly wound that was healed. And all the world wondered after the beast, right? And remember, even when you go into that movie, what was it? The Last Samurai. Remember how they were actually able to get into there? Because remember that the young prince was really into the British culture, and he's the one who actually brought those Edomites over there, right? Oh, matter of fact, let's go into, because basically going into them giving America that power, or so-called power. Looks like they gave him power, and they worship the dragon, right? Which is the Roman treaty, which going into NATO, EU, and America, right? Which the Roman treaty, well, NATO, because I guess they say America's not part of the the EU, but then I seen some things where they were saying that they did have some type of thing, but that's no here nor there. But that's just saying, but they do have NATO, which is their military power. So, and it says, and they worship the dragon, which is given that whole democracy look coming from Rome, right? They're the Senate, their so-called republic, the Democrat Republican, the Flavians, and the patricians, giving that whole thing to make it look like you're voting and look like that, because it said that they're going to be different from all the other people, which you're the same ones. You're different from all the other beasts, because you're following right after that Roman Empire, because every other empire has basically a dictator, right? That's why they're not liking America now, because you can vote in this person for 1 year. Like Trump only spent 4 years. And he was doing a lot of different things, and people were kind of respecting that a little bit. But then they take him out. He made deals, and now Biden goes in and then retract those deals. And then if Trump do get back in there, he got to go back and try to make those deals and go say, "Oh well, we're sorry, that was the other administration. That people ain't liking that. You too flip floppy." And all these other things, so we know that has to be you. You're using that thing because you're different than all the other beasts, right? Because you're making it seem like people have a choice, but you really don't. You're just using it to bring in that NWO, man, to bring in the charagma. So it says, and they worship the dragon, which gave power unto the beast, right? That dragon, right? They worship the dragon, right? Going into, like I said, the British Empire when it was actually ruling a lot, right? And then they gave power unto the beast. They gave power unto what? NATO, EU, and America, right? Through NATO, but they made America the face of it. And they worship the beast, saying, "Who is like unto the beast, who is able to make war with him," right? So he's making it seem like America's this big bad army, and they got this great military that who can make war with them. But we're gonna see in the end that what? Even your mother is gonna be ashamed of you, and your mother is what? England, and she's gonna shoot missiles on you. And all the other allies, and plus all your enemies, Russia, Iran, North Korea. You know what I mean? You're going to have 200 million missiles shot on this place, right? Yeah, so this is Revelation chapter 13, verse 11. And I beheld, which means feast your eyes, look, pay attention, another beast came up out of the earth, right? Because you had the four beasts. He said the head was gold, the arms and the chest was silver. You know what I mean? The rest of it was from thing was brass, and the legs was iron, and then the other part of the legs was iron, and down to the feet was partly iron, partly clay. Right? Says Shalakia, beast came up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, right? And that's giving you that what's it called? The Catholic, or basically the Catholic Church, but also all these other things that stem from the Catholic Church. Your Baptist, your Methodist, your Lutheran, your Calvinist, your your Methodist, even your Islam comes from that, right? Like all these other things could stem off from that, right? So it says that's them being to give you that deception, right? Like a lamb, but spake as a dragon. So in these last days, you're going to go into those draconian laws, man. And that's what they're doing. And he exercised all the power of the first beast, right? Giving you this so-called democracy, giving you saints, going to the court, swear on the Bible when you're not supposed to swear, to make it look like you're getting a fair shot in this world, to make it look like you can vote, give you their so-called democracy, dealing with their system, right? So it says, power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them that dwell therein to worship the first beast, right? Dealing with their system, right? Because the way they conquer things, and conquer these other nations, and then made things seem shiny, glistening. And I mean, you really thought America was the best country in the world, so you put on your suit and tie and you did certain things, and so you got all these other nations that wear suits and ties now because of, because of America, because of the way they did these things, because of their democracy, right? Where they put down their laws, right? Where they make it seem like it's fair for you, but then they got a loophole that allows them to come in and basically take everything from you or throw you in jail. But then somehow the so-called elites or whoever they want to will never spend a day in jail for the same crime you did. So this is how they get you, right? And worship the first, dwell in the worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed, right? Going back into that Roman Empire, man. Their deadly wound was healed. And they came back talking nonsense. But what? Their whole thing, going back into the thing, what is falling apart. Going back into that miry clay. Right? Well, I guess so we can just go into the thing right here. Real quick. It says, and he doeth great wonders, and maketh fire come down from heaven, right? During the time of was it Japan, the fat boy and little man or whatever, fat man and little boy, right? Letting those atomic bombs come down, but now they got ICBMs, which are 1,000 times more hotter than those atomic bombs. Thousands of times more hotter. And he deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by means of those miracles, right? Now they're going into new miracles. They got the see hip. Now you could put it in you. You could see, you can hear, you could do all sorts of things. Now you could be a transhumanism. You'll be able to, I don't know, you'll be able to remember such and such. It's great to be a cyborg. All these different things. It's great to be in the metaverse. All these lies that they want to tell you. You can get a prosthetic arm and a prosthetic hip with a prosthetic heart, and some more stuff and some more fake things, and your life will be better, right? That's those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make a image of the beast, going into their democracy. You know what I mean? That's why you got a place like Japan that has like a parliament. They have like a democracy. You got places like the Philippines, where they made it legal that a man and a man can have a marital sex, and it's legal. They can get married and all this stuff. These are those things, man. which had the wound by the sword and did live. Right? The Lord just keep going through it, letting you know it's that Roman Empire, man. They had the wound by the sword and they did live, man. And that's where it was at. And had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast, man. That's power, man. Right? That would not worship the beast, right? Going back into the time that Nebuchadnezzar had. He wanted us to bow down, but the three Hebrew boys, the three Hebrew heroes, no, what they say, Meshach, Reshach, and Abednego, but that's not their name either, because they had Hebrew names. But for the sake of it, so you understand, they didn't bow down to it, and they did not get burnt nor have smell of smoke upon them, because they believed in the Lord, man. Did not worship the image of the beast, should be killed. And he calls of all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Right? Here is wisdom. Let him that haveth understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of man, and his number is 666, which is 666. But it's basically going into that time, right? Yeah. So like I said, the the iron. So basically, because it's not gonna stick, it's like this, man. That's why they having all that confusion, and it's the same thing that they had back then. When Rome first fell, they had a bunch of confusion, and then basically what they went to dust, which is confusion. That's what it said in the beginning, right? Matter of fact, I'll end it at that, because that's what it is. So surely he shall not feel quietness in his belly. He shall not save that which he desire. Right? You're not gonna have what you think you desire. The NWO. Says Genesis chapter 3 verse 14, and Yahweh Bashem Yahushai power said unto the serpent, because thus has done this, thus are cursed above all cattle and above every beast. Right? Because what it said, all those other beasts that ruled, right? Because technically the Lord called Nebuchadnezzar a beast. He called the Medo-Persian Empire a beast. He called that Greek Empire a beast. Then that fourth beast, also a beast, right? Because they're the low. But it said that this beast is going to be the lowest of all beasts, right? Even though they're the Edomites, this part of the Edomites of the Greco Empire was Edomites, but this part of the Edomite is going to be even lower than that. That's why I said you should be lower than all the beasts. Right? Because that's why it's the feet. You're lower than all the beasts. Right? That's why because he would not disdain to have you with the flock of his dogs. Right? He that is younger than us, right? It says the flock of the beast, and upon thy belly shall thus go, and the dust shall thus eat all the days of thy life, which is confusion, right? Because that's why, matter of fact, before I get to that, which is confusion, that's why it tells you that in Obadiah. Because all your allies are going to shoot missiles on you, and then the whole thing about it says, and all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the borders. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that ate thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is no understanding in him. So that's what the Lord said. You should eat up dust, which is confusion, all the days of your life. Even you're at the highest height of your empire, where you got laser guns, you got laser weaponry, you got military planes that emulate the chariots. You're at the highest height of your empire, and you're still there's still no understanding in you, right? And I shall and shall I not in that day, saith Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, even destroy the wise men out of Edom, right? That's why I said there shouldn't be no more wisdom in Teman, right? And understanding, right? The dust, see, and understanding out of the mount of Esau. Matter of fact, it's right here. It says, "O thy mighty men of Teman shall be dismayed," right? Because Teman is supposed to be the ones that's supposed to be, the Germans are supposed to be really smart. And that's the Project Paperclip. They're gonna be dismayed. To the end that every one of the mount of Esau be cut off by slaughter. So ultimately, they're all gonna be cut off, and you're gonna look to Teman to try to, create something, make it better. I don't know. Make your laser weapons. Create things that emulate the chariots. So you could so-called have a fair shot, but you're gonna be destroyed. All the days of your life, go back, because it says you're gonna have confusion. It says you should not understand. The Lord said He's gonna destroy the wise men out of Edom, right? Going back to Genesis 14? Oh, 3 and 14, Slakia. 3 and 14 says, and upon thy belly shall thus go, and thus, which means confusion, shall thus eat all the days of thy life, man. So the Lord's taking the wisdom out of, and you're gonna eat up dust, man. Back here. And then right here, this is pretty much your end. It says Job 20 and 15, he have swallowed down riches and shall vomit them up. Right? You're gonna vomit them up. Shall vomit them up again. Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai shall cast them down, cast them out of his belly. Right? All those riches are gonna get cast out of your belly, man. Here, Job 20 and 22, in the fullness of his sufficiency, whose sufficiency? Esau Edom's sufficiency, he shall be in straits. And straits is what a difficult and a hard place, right? When he's taking the wisdom out of Teman, right? When you should have dust all the days of your life, when you were in the Caucasus Mountain, you had all the dust. When you go, mellows by the bushes, that was dust, man. Confusion, right? And then for the Lord to tell you to come out, you're gonna come back out from your 1,000 years of confusion, and that you're gonna rule just a short space. For you to act like you're gonna rule forever, it didn't make sense. To beat the Israelites down to the point that we didn't know who we are anymore, it didn't make sense for you to do that when you knew you were gonna rule a short space, but you had to do it because it was prophecy. See, the Lord, a man's going is of the Lord. So how can you understand your own way without Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai? See, and that was your own fault way back when you were Cain, way back when you were the serpent, or not really a serpent, but you were that other nation who they deemed you as a serpent because that was your characteristics, man. But yeah, you should be in straits in every hand of the wicked, right? See, basically what the Lord said. All of Edom is going to be destroyed, right? The wise men, and to the point that He's going to destroy all of Edom. So every hand of the wicked shall come up upon him, right? Wait, this goes in Slakia. This goes into laborers. Slakia. This wicked goes into laborers, which is going into what? The workforce that now that all these different people are coming against your new world order. You ain't gonna be able to necessarily put it. It's gonna seem like you're gonna have it all together, but right in the fullness of your sufficiency, the Lord's gonna put it down, man. These people are gonna rise up. All these things are gonna happen, and you don't have no understanding in you that it can't work because the Lord said it's not gonna work. No matter how much Satan tells you, don't worry about it. It's gonna work. You know what I'm saying? Satan works for the Most High. We know Satan is your God, but Satan works for the Most High. So call Loyum Yahweh, Bashem Yahweh Shai, Bashem Rakal Kadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Salutations to the Akim and the Four Winds preaching in truth and sincerity, risking their lives more now than ever. The hopeful elect, the elect, Shalom. To the Israelite foreigners who phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel and have come back to the fold. Shalom. To you sisters, you Akwathium, who listen and learn under your husband or your spiritual leader and have come back to the fold. Shalom.